Greetings everyone, welcome back to my sketchbook. In the last video, I drew kind of like my interpretation of this Arcanine or Arcanine Pokemon. Something kind of interesting, I suppose. But I had a conversation with somebody who's quite familiar with the Pokemon world, and they said that there was something else interesting that I saw it as well, but I mean, I didn't really know anything about this, that this is actually one of their favorite Pokemon. And, well, I think it looks kind of cool. This is Darkrai, or Darkrai, but I think it's Darkrai. And, yeah, it's a pretty cool looking Pokemon. So my idea for this is to draw this the way that I would draw this, and yeah, see where it goes. So instead of just being in my sketchbook, I have this, which is brand new, but it's been sitting around for a while. This is black paper. It's brand new, and I'm going to I'm going to tear out a sheet of this. Oh, it's pretty thick too. Okay, so I would curl to the edge on that a little bit. But yeah, so this is like a mixed media vellum surface like paper, and it's in 6 by 8 inch sheets. And I'm going to make a card out of this. Now, I don't know what this will be like to fold. Maybe I should just use it as a full-size thing. Well, let's see what happens. Wow, I don't know if this is going to fold the way I want it to. I feel like it'll split apart. Oh yeah, definitely split apart. It's pretty thick paper, but I'll make do because I'm crafty. Oh, terribly crafty. How about that? That corner didn't go corner to corner. Jumpins. I may have to correct that with a pair of scissors after. What side do I like best? I think I like that side best. So I'll flatten that down a little bit. With what though? The edge of a coin. This is a pretty heavy coin here. This is a British £1 coin, so that's pretty heavy. A £1 coin. Wow. And that's not that bad. Heavy enough. Let's tilt this just a little bit. See if it'll focus on that just enough. And we're going to get to work. We're going to draw Darkrai. Move this aside. Now, I'm going to take this sort of seriously, so if this turns out to be a long video, I mean, you can fast forward as you see fit. And, yeah, we'll just see where it goes. So, I'm going to start off by using this, which is white ink from Winsor & Newton. And you don't really have to shake it. But I did just a little bit. We'll see how scary this stuff is. I'm going to get out a detailer brush rather than just use a pen. Now, I kind of have an idea in my head of what I want this thing to kind of look like, but not really. And typically, I do things in a very specific way. This may or may not be what it will turn into in my head, which is the funnest thing. And I'm doing this freehand, of course, because that's fun for me. And as I said, this will be my interpretation of this character. Now, something that's interesting about Pokemon, to me anyway, is that it's been around for a while. And there was a point, I guess, that people would pretty much go to war over this thing that was kind of meant to be fun. So you can imagine that if you had cards that had a certain kind of value and you lost those cards in a match, and your parents would be kind of upset with you because they weren't cheap. And I don't know if people still play that way. I know professionally, I guess people do, or maybe I'm wrong. But you end up losing very expensive cards. And that doesn't seem like fun. And I don't know how you can truly determine whether or not, the deck is stacked in a certain way, or so I'm not that familiar with what goes on. So yes, a real-time freehand doodle with a brush with white ink. It's kind of interesting. So here's a little bit of what I know from what I've been told about Darkrai. Darkrai is not necessarily bad, but has the ability to make you go to sleep and possibly give you nightmares, but generally would only do this kind of as a defense of itself or perhaps somebody that they care about. And I'm told that lives on, I think it's like Full or New Moon Island, with another Pokemon called CRESSELIA. And they may have battled each other before, but they do seem to care about each other too. So I don't know what to make of that. I don't know how easy it is to capture this particular Pokemon. It seems interesting. Now, as I said, I'm doing this kind of like my take on it. So it may not be exactly how you would see it, or you might do it yourself. Because I'm doing this on black paper, I'm going to kind of highlight certain things a little bit differently and then add color after the fact. So I'm brightening out the eye just a little bit more here because I plan on adding some color to that. I don't know how that's coming across so far. Just adding strands and strands of hair, or flow something. I don't know if you'd really want to call this hair or not. Just based on the picture, I'm going to kind of refer to it as much. It could be essence flow. Next, actually, let's add a little bit more on this side over here. A little bit over here again. Okay. So yeah, if you have a favorite Pokemon, let me know. I'm probably slightly more partial to just Pikachu. Which to me is kind of the old school Pokemon. But I'm not a trainer. I'm a pen and paper kind of person for the most part. Now, this is a kind of a strange thing that I'm about to do here. This is sort of a collar, it seems. It seems a little bit like teeth in a way. Here's some more stuff that I found out. This isn't the most powerful Pokemon either. Of course, far from it. My understanding that the main and most powerful one, I think it's called like a Arxis, maybe? Arxis. And that's the one that kind of created the universe. And then there's like the Master of Time, and as well as the Master of Space. It's like Dialaga and maybe Palakai or Palkia. Palkia. That seems interesting. But At least one person really likes this one. Now let's try hiding a little bit of that tooth there, a little bit of that tooth there. Okay. Now, as far as how the rest of this goes, as I said, it seems to be kind of like part of a ridge of teeth, and then a round upper body. Some kind of like cool looking shoulders. We'll let it be kind of light too, because it has sort of a dark body. Let's try a little closer to the body here. Now, if those features here on the back of the arm or on the forearm, that'd be a lot like Batman and the gauntlets that Batman uses. See if we can get a little bit more on that. I might have to shake that up a little bit. Seems to have kind of separated just a little bit. I don't really use a lot of that white ink too much. But it's fun though. So I think we're getting close to the main part of what I'm doing with that. Now from up here at the shoulders, we're going to let loose some sort of like well, I wouldn't call it a cape, but it could be almost like vapors of cool smoke. I don't mind if they're not uniform, because I don't want it to be too predictable. I may go back and revisit that soon enough. I have an idea of how I'm going to get some things lined up with that. Okay. Interesting. I'm going to set this aside for a moment. You know what? I'm going to make this hand kind of appear a little bit bigger. Okay. Clean that brush. See how that goes. Next, I'm going to use some of this, which is Carco's Turquoise. A slight shake. And I'm going to use a different detailer. Actually, let's go with a short. I'll open this up first. It's got a pretty bright color to it. See how that looks. Now the idea here is to add some color that if I didn't do a little bit of white first, you wouldn't notice it the same way. I don't know if you can see what I did there. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So I'm darkening the outside of the area a little bit as well. I'll let that sort of set up. Clean that brush. And let's go with Maybe this one. Yes, it's a little bit thicker. All right. Shake this one up. This is Aqua Ink Graphics. I'm using that for the red. And let's see how this will look. Now this one I've used a lot, and it's pretty bright, but I don't know if I put down enough white paint to really play against the black background. And it's okay if we get outside the lines, because that actually adds a little bit more to it as well. Almost like you would outline when it spills over onto the black paper. I didn't mean to shake it as much as I did, because unfortunately it's a little bubbly. Now, I suppose if I were super crafty, I would have maybe done a little bit of a sketch beforehand, but I kind of wanted to just sort of jump right into this and see what would happen if I just sketched with a brush instead. And I'm giving this away. So it's fun if it's a one-of-a-kind thing. Now, I did say that I was probably going to do a something else with Minecraft, and I still will. But I wanted to finish this up. So soon. Those are kind of the two main colors. And that took about a half an hour to get to that point. All right. Now we're going to do some of the fun stuff, or more fun stuff. I didn't pick a dramatic pose or anything like that. By comparison to that, let's see if we can back this out just maybe one level out, like that. Oh, no, let's go like that. Okay. And open up the other inkwell. Get my trusty sketchbook pen, and let's work on some of the details. Actually, let's go back in. We'll get that to lock on that if at all possible. Try not to disturb it too much. So that little moon glow, let's take care of that right away. We'll add some depth to that eye. We'll get around that. It just adds a little bit of darkness to that drawing. We'll separate some of the hair just a little bit, even though I tried to do that with the brush as I went along. Now, it may not seem like I'm doing a lot there. But really, I'm creating hair. And like I said, it's probably not hair. It's probably almost like vapor. So, but I'm treating it this way because, well, that's how I like to do stuff, I guess. I'm kind of giving it a little bit of almost like a dragon's tail. We'll take care of some of the little wisps. Now, I don't really think that there's like a pupil with this. It doesn't seem like it. So I can leave that alone. Now let's put a little bit of separation with these, which I would have done just enough, again, with the brush. But I'm okay to do it this way too. I can make things a little pointier, just a little bit pointier. Let some of it drift away. That's kind of a neat effect. Now let's take care of some of this body just a little bit. I'm going to take away some of the harshness. Sort of like this part here, where it's a little too bright. I'm going to thin out the lines just a little bit. Same within here. Thin out those lines a little bit. The back of the arm. Now, I've done a few Pokemon videos. I did one that was a mashup of an orc and Ash. So if you're into World of Warcraft and you want to see Ash Ketchum as an orc, you can find that video. It's interesting. At least I think it's kind of interesting. Let's take away some of the harshness of this line here. And we'll kind of put in some shadow which you will only notice when you tilt it in the light. A little bit of this. It's a little harsh as well. Now, something that would be kind of interesting to do. Now, I did this using white ink. It would have been interesting to use gloss paint, actually. That just kind of popped into my head. That would actually look kind of neat. I'm not ruined by that anyway so far. Just an idea. This is a Pokemon that mainly does what it does at night. Not really a daytime Pokemon. This is a little harsh in here too. It's weird to say the word harsh when referring to something being too bright. Harsh lights, I suppose. It's not so nonsensical what I'm saying. I'm basically making kind of gray. Very interesting. A little bit down here, and then I think that'll be kind of the main thing. And you know what? I have another idea. Because I'm silly. Scratching some in here because I'm going to make use of it. Probably doesn't seem like I'm doing a lot with that. I promise you I'm just dropping lots of ink in there. And if you're familiar with seeing some of the stuff I've done in the past, then you know what's about to happen. Let's add a little bit in here. Okay. Here's what's going down. Get the water, grab my number 1 detailer, and I'm going to put water to it. I'll let that sort of soak into the paper just a little bit. See how much of the ink can just make its way out over the lines that I drew in white. See if some of that ink will kind of move around. So yes, the Pokemon evolve, and I don't know anything about this one's evolution. I don't know, honestly enough. Now let's see if we can move this around a little bit more, get some of that flying around a little bit. It's kind of looking a little blue. That's okay. That's a vapor cape. Same over here very quickly, and I think that'll be the main thing, and I'll work on the card aspect of it after. So yes, I'd probably do things a little bit differently if I were to do this again. But I don't mind that so much. All right, folks. Well, I think that's it. I don't think I need to go that much further than that. Yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, so that's the Pokemon Darkrai. And yeah, I think that's interesting. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for hanging out for a few minutes, at least. And yeah, I may write, something down here or whatever, and you might see that in the thumbnail. But yeah, this is a card for somebody that this is their favorite Pokemon. So, and it just turned out that I happened to get that. So, interesting. All right, that's it. Ciao for now.